Hello and welcome everybody. Good afternoon, Friday, and it's Friday and Friends with Mackmyra. I'm here with my colleagues. We've got Richard and Camille over this way.
Hello.
And it's Mackmyra and Friends, and our friends tonight, our very special guest, Liam Scandrett. Hi, Liam.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
Excellent. Glad you could join us. Liam is from the WSET, which is, for those in the know, the Wine and Spirits and Education Trust, which is a venerable organisation. Liam, why don't you kick off and tell us a little bit about yourself and this fine organisation?
Thanks for having me first, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
No problem.
It's a really sunny day outside, so you've done well to drag me inside to do this tasting. Wine and Spirit Education Trust, some of you will be familiar with it. WSET started in 1969. It's a global provider of education in wine, spirits, and sake. So set up as a trade body and used by most professionals in those fields, but also used by lots of enthusiasts now to understand basically what's going on inside their glass.
Well, myself and I think Richard, we've been recently on the WSET courses, and of course our colleague Camille is an expert. Do you teach these sort of things, Camille?
Yeah, thanks to WSET and Liam support, I become approved program provider for WSET. So
fantastic. So Liam, your role is particularly in spirits. I know they do wines and lots of other things, but you're a spirits expert. So what is your role involved? Yeah.
Exclusively spirits for me, primarily business development. So kind of extending our reach and growing student numbers, trying to make sure that our content and our information is in the hands of as many people as possible. I get the opportunity to teach every now and then. I'm currently teaching 2,000 students online, which is quite a feat and keeping me busy at this moment.
Put your hands up if you've got a question.
Yeah, exactly. They're actually all bartenders as well, so you can imagine what it's like trying to herd 2,000 bartenders on a level 1 course. Hi, everyone watching. Nice to see you.
Excellent. And finally, just what keeps you busy outside of? Do you get any free time, hobbies, and interests, or is it all business orientated?
No, sure. I mean, that course is keeping me busy at the moment. But outside of work, I mean, I've got a little cocker spaniel called Ronnie, who's 15 months old, so he keeps me pretty busy. I'm helping her out a lot. Try and scuba dive and travel as much as I possibly can, but obviously that's pretty limited at the moment. And yeah, food and drink is kind of big passion, really. So if it's not drinking, then it's something to do with food. I can cook a mean curry, anything in one pot, I'm pretty good at.
That's good. Well, welcome to the show again. Friday with friends. Typically, we're going to play around with our whiskey of the week, and we're going to make a couple of cocktails. The kind of theme this week is cocktails for heroes. So we all know the heroes are out there doing their long hours and making sure we all stay fed and well. And so today the theme is, after a long, hard day's work, you want something quick and simple and easy to do and delicious 5-star cocktails. So it's all around our whiskey of the week. And the whiskey of the week this week is our fabulous latest seasonal release, the Mackmyra Grönt Te. Fabulous green tea. Won a gold medal recently when it just came out in March from the American Craft Association, and a wonderful whiskey. And to tell us all about it, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Richard. Richard, tell us all.
Hello. Right. So, Grönt Te came around. It was the inspiration for it was Angela D'Orazio, Mackmyra's master blender. The same as many master blenders out there, whiskey is not their only passion or something they're enthusiastic about. Many of them like all sorts of different sensory things, like coffee and tea. For Angela, green tea and Japanese green teas was one of her favorite things. With all of her travels around the world, she wanted to tie the two things together. So about 3.5-4 years ago now, she set into motion creating the world's first ever green tea finished whiskey. She worked in collaboration with Yuko Ono, not the one you might be thinking of. That's a picture of her there. She's based, I believe, out of Holland, but worked as a go-between between 4 of the most well-respected Japanese green tea makers, obviously in Japan. The way that it was put together was we got each of the 4 individual green teas and needed to work out a way of seasoning casks so that they could have some green tea influence. So you can just put a load of green tea in a cask and have it sit there, but that wasn't quite good enough for us, or wouldn't work properly. So We took a mixture of keeping the green tea separate, blended them with oloroso sherry and some neutral alcohol, and then seasoned each cask with those to try and get impart some of that flavour into the cask and into the oak. And then we took some of our elegant recipe, Mackmyra whiskey, put that into the cask for seasoning for I think about 19 months, just to give it enough of a sense of green tea being in there, and for you to be able to sort of find it on the nose if you're better than me, but on the palate, absolutely for sure for me. But I think quite a lot of people out there can find it on both, and we're very excited about it. It's the first whiskey that came out after I started, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
And
really,
what's
really
incredible, Richard, was that it took 3.5 years to develop that whiskey from start to finish, going through experimentation and getting the final product. Sorry.
That's it. It's the longest amount of time I think she spent sort of trying to create something from start to finish. And she's very proud of it. We're very proud of it. I'm excited to see what Liam thinks, and looking forward to trying it in some cocktails, because you can see I've had quite a bit now of the bottle that I've got.
I think you
but
need
that's
to
all been mixed with a few drops of water. So excited.
Richard, you said it's 3.5 years also to get a project like this, but can you imagine how many months or years she must have planned it in her head to start the project? There's also time that not many people will think it's like very.
And when a release pops out, as they do in Mackmyra every 6 months or so, you have to then stop and think about how much effort has gone into doing that, which for the special finishes is incredible. Well, Liam, we couldn't resist the opportunity by asking you to do one of your structured tastings that you do in WSET. It's a methodology that Richard and I use, and I use it regularly, to be honest. It was a godsend once we had some kind of framework to go about tasting spirits and a method. So I love using the method. So if you could approach our whiskey, and there it is, we've got the method up, and over to you, Liam, to talk us through it.
Thanks, Gareth. That's good to hear that you still use it. It's really designed as a tool for professionals and enthusiasts alike to kind of break down the tasting of the spirit so they can understand it better. And for me, when I was bartending and teaching about spirits and kind of the early part of my career, I really wanted to understand why spirits tasted the way they did, not just that they did taste like that, but what part of the process resulted in those particular characteristics. And I think that's what this approach can kind of help you do. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about over the next couple of minutes as I move through a tasting of this particular spirit. So first, thanks very much for sending me a bottle. I'm honoured to be one of the first people to have one and to try this. It's absolutely incredible. We start with appearance, and I'm not going to dwell on appearance by any means. Whenever I'm teaching a course, I don't dwell on the appearance part of the process, mainly because the appearance is the least important part. Our eyes can be deceived. Our eyes can be deceived much more than our nose and our palate can be when it comes to spirits, actually. We can add colour to a spirit, and we can also take colour away. So colour doesn't tell us a great deal about the spirit in and of itself. If we know what category it is, that might lead us to think about where some of those colours and those features have come from. But in and of itself, appearance doesn't tell us anything about quality or age, right? But we can have a look at this particular sample, the Grönt Te. Am I pronouncing that right?
Do you know what? There are some people who pronounce it a lot better than me, Liam, but that was a good guess.
I'll go with Grönt Te. This is what we call medium gold. And the first line of the SAT is about appearance. Moving through lemon, gold, amber, brown, generally the kind of development of colour that spirits can take from oak. Not to say that all old spirits are necessarily brown. There's a lot more going on than that. But this is what we call a kind of classic medium gold, really. It's mostly yellow. There's not a huge amount of kind of amber hues in there yet. If you hold it against something white, you'll be able to see that quite clearly. But as I say, I'm not going to dwell too much. I'll move on to the most exciting part, and I find that's the nose and the palate. And the first thing I'll kind of draw your attention to, if we kind of put the glass kind of somewhere around our chin and around our kind of lip area, that's probably the point that we can smell those aromas of raw material. I can't smell the aromas when the glass is down by my chest quite as much. The glass needs to be somewhere around my chin. So that's typically what we call medium in intensity. But the other thing that I really want to kind of focus on is the cleanliness and the kind of purity of the aromas here. They're really, really vivid and really, really bright. And that's kind of quite indicative of Mackmyra's style typically, and a lot of other German styles of distillation. You've got this, I say German styles of distillation, I appreciate Mackmyra is Swedish, but this style of distillation that was made famous in Germany, that's a really, really, really tight, pure and closely refined distillation that's got this real purity of flavor. And all the aromas that are there are really bright and really vivid, and we'll talk about some of those aromas in a moment. But the first thing that I smell, and the first thing I'd like to draw attention to, and I think this is a clear way to describe them, is think about them in order of where they've arrived. So what can I smell from raw material first and foremost? And this has that quintessential cereal, malt, kind of oat cake, honey characteristic to it that all single malt whiskies will have. And as I say, it's a really, really pure and really, really refined aroma as well. The next thing that I draw your attention to is that kind of clear orchard fruit aroma, that apple, that pear, and I'd say there's even maybe something akin to something more tropical here as well, maybe some banana or some kind of foam bananas, which again are processes of fermentation. All these fruity characteristics that Mackmyra is quite famous for and is present in some other single malts as well are actually driven by fermentation. Fermentation is a major part of the production process that is often overlooked in terms of how much it can influence the aromas that you find in the glass, and all that fruitiness that you get here, that's actually directly related back to fermentation. The other thing then we talk about is obviously those aromas that have come from post-distillation. First and foremost, aged in bourbon casks, so I think you can smell that kind of quintessential vanilla and maybe kind of clove characteristic from those bourbon casks. But there's also this oloroso influence, this nuttiness, this kind of dried fruit that's there. And then finally, the thing that's kind of extra in this, the thing that makes it so different, is this green tea influence, a slight jasmine, this floral element to it, as well as this kind of sweet spearmint, menthol kind of characteristic, this herbaceousness that you don't find on many whiskies at all. Are we all ready to have a taste?
Oh, absolutely. Bring it on. I can't get enough of this.
What I'd like you to think about when you taste it, obviously have a couple of sips, because the first sip will be kind of getting your palate used to the sample. The second sip will really be where you start to understand it better, but also think about how it feels while it sits on the palate, but then think about it when it leaves the palate as well, okay? What is the texture like? I mean, that's a really, really important consideration. It's not just about what it tastes like or how it tastes, but how does it feel? How does it make you feel?
Well,
it's a real soft, oily, for me. It's like an oily mouthfeel, a nice and smooth texture, nothing harsh about it, a nice round glow. You get the initial fruit hit, and then it gives you a bit of spice and pepper, which coats the mouth, and then finally, for me, just hangs away, and you get them herbal notes in the back of the tongue, the grassy notes that come through.
Sure. The first line of that SAT is about sweetness, and I think we can all agree this is completely dry. Obviously, it has to be, but that is evident. That lack of sugar is evident once it leaves the palate. It leaves you completely dry, but with a whole abundance of different flavors. We have some sweet flavors that are present while the spirit is there on the palate, but as soon as it leaves the palate, you feel that dryness come through, that dryness of oak, that kind of real spice that you talked about. And the texture is really oily, as you say, really mouth-filling. It coats the mouth. It moves all around the palate quite easily. It's not this kind of singular, thin, watery texture. It's got this really full-bodied, oily texture, which is really, really pleasant. And that carries a lot of that flavour. I'd say the kind of intensity of the palate is probably more pronounced than it was actually on the nose. There's a whole wealth of different flavours, and it's really turned up to 11. Yep. And again, much of those flavours that we talked about on the nose are present on the palate. Some of that fruitiness in the middle, as well as that kind of grain backbone running all the way through it. Spiciness from some of the oak influence, both the bourbon and the oloroso sherry. And then this kind of freshness, this herbal kind of minty freshness running through the whole thing, which I think is probably, related back to that green tea influence. Finish-wise, I'd probably talk about this as being a medium finish in terms of length. I don't think it kind of goes on and on and on. It certainly narrows, but that's not a negative thing by any means. That's kind of where this particular whiskey sits, I think, as we'll see in a moment. It's very, very mixable. It's very, very, easy to put in highballs and really kind of quite light and delicate, as well as being this kind of, have this wealth of flavour. And in terms of complexity, though, I think there's probably a lot going on there. So we'd probably be talking about this being very complex, both medium in length, but very complex in terms of the complexity level.
Yeah. Hangs on the tongue at the end for quite a long time. You get there's a salty, savoury note, that an umami that carries on the back of the tongue, and I think it's pulling out some of the nutty flavours from the teas, from the matcha teas and the other nutty teas, the Huchiba tea, I think it was. So that nutty flavour, the umami that comes at the end. Yeah,
it's really interesting. Not many whiskies have that quality, so I think that's a real kind of USP of this, and it really kind of gives it this kind of chewy texture. You know, this almost kind of, as you say, savoury, chewy nature to it, which is really, really interesting and something you want to go back to again and again, I think.
Yeah,
not going to last me long, put it that way, guys.
I'm so glad this has been Whiskey of the Week, because it's one of my favourite whiskies, and I've been really enjoyed recapping, doing a couple of live shows with whiskey societies and stuff this week, and a lot of green tea has passed the lips this week, and it's a fabulous, and always we get great feedback from this, so it's a great whiskey, and I don't know, my own personal conclusion, obviously it's outstanding, it would be, but Liam,
not going to argue with that. I'll get kicked out if I argue with that, won't I?
The screen will go blank.
Keep us sweet until the cocktails happen, at least.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And guys, this is the beauty about WSET and their structured tasting. Finally, I had a method by which I could approach any spirit, any drink at all, and I could systematically and methodically sort of go through that drink and understand how it's broken down and why it's different, and be able to talk and have a commentary about it. I can't recommend this enough for anybody who's got any interest in spirits. They do a range of courses from beginners right through to experts, and if you get the chance, the details are there to contact Lee and his team later on. But it's Friday, and Friday traditionally we're going to make one or two cocktails, a quick one. Richard, it's cocktail time, is it, Richard?
No, it's cocktail time, and I'm excited to see what Camille is going to do with this. If anyone's seen the marketing or advertising we've done for the show this week, you'll see that we've got a Japanese theme, and I think Japan is synonymous with superheroes and that sort of thing. So we wanted to also celebrate all of our care workers, NHS logistics staff, everyone, people that are delivering us our packages, all these guys and girls, everyone involved, and celebrate them. So Camille, what sort of cocktail can you make where someone can come home from a long shift, probably a quite a stressful shift at the moment, come back, what's something that's easy that they can make but delicious at the same time? What have you got?
Yeah, I was thinking about the cocktail, but first of all, I would like to thank Liam and WSET, because WSET and the study they provide is absolutely amazing. And during my life, I spent a lot of money on so many things. I don't know even for what. But I do remember that I invest in WSET courses, and it was the best thing I ever done for myself.
Me too.
Yeah.
Same for me, Camel. I know I'm the one who's selling them now, but it's really what kind of formalized my career in the drink industry, and allowed me to make that kind of transition from being a bartender then to a kind of brand person and spirits educator.
So for people who enjoy spirit, will understand the spirits better, and for people who create cocktail, will understand the classic cocktails and can develop new cocktails because they can understand the base ingredient, which is a spirit, better.
Absolutely. I'm just replying to Mickey, who's taking the Mickey out of my hat. Red, white, and blue VE 75 day. We've just come out from a garden party in the street, so I've still got my hat here to celebrate. Also, VE Day 75 years to the day for that. So a lot going on. So, Kamel, take it away. You're our hero tonight.
Yes. So basically, Japanese bartending is not about ice, quality of the ice, clearness of the ice, the way they work, way they move. Is like, when they make the cocktail, you just get attached to it. It's like a tea ceremony. Every single move means something. Okay, so I don't want to do crazy moves here. So I'm not the Japanese bartender, but I was playing with the ice a little bit. So what I did is basically I freezed green tea, which was flavored with honey and lemon, and then I made the ice. Okay.
Wow.
So this will flavor my whiskey, and I don't need to put any extra thing, worry about. I just make yourself ice from green tea, flavor it to your taste with honey and lemon or whatever you prefer. Once you want to have your whiskey, you just take the ice, the green tea ice, whiskey. Also, I was experimenting a little bit, and I froze green tea ice separately.
Wow.
Then lemon juice froze, and the honey. There you go.
Got frozen honey as well.
Yeah, I froze like a honey syrup. Okay.
While Camille's making that, Gareth, are you not going to do the trick Camille did in his video where he throws half a lemon in the air and catches it on the knife?
Listen, I know that video took 45 takes, and it took him 45 times before he actually worked. So I'm not going to do that. And there's none of this little pre-prepared frozen. He never told me anything was meant to be frozen. I've got all fresh ingredients, so I'm going for my lemon and lime squeeze, lemon squeeze, and a bit of honey coming in on the back there.
Okay, and just open
I'm
up.
mix that with a little ice.
So I suppose one of the joys of this drink you're making, Camel, is that it changes through the course of drinking it, right?
Exactly, and it doesn't get watered down so quickly because you don't use clear ice, a normal ice, and all the ice is flavored.
Gareth, that's rather loud, buddy, so I can't hear Camille.
Yeah, so it evolves as you drink it. So you can sip it for longer, you can enjoy it because the flavor still will be there. And you don't even need garnish. And apart it tastes good, even on your eye, when you look at your glass and the ice, your brain, see nice things, so you will enjoy it even more. So this was all point of this. All done, simple. How long was it?
Wow.
What was it? 30 seconds? A minute?
That was so easy. That was so easy. I mean, yeah, one you made earlier. I went for live. Of course, if you put all the stuff in the freezer at the start of the day, it's ready for the end of the day. But I'm interested in the basic sort of, the simplicity of that good whiskey, good tones, and then mixing with just a bit of lemon and a bit of soda water and a bit of honey into sweetness. So let's see what it tastes like. What are your thoughts, guys?
Cheers.
Prost.
We'll tell you what it's like, Liam, shall we?
Yes, please.
Liam, absolutely. Outstanding is the first word and the last word. No, it does. It doesn't overpower the whiskey. The DNA of the whiskey still comes through. You still got that classic fruit that comes on there, but the lemon kind of enhances it and goes with the slight bitterness of the tea. And the honey just sits on the top of it. Beautiful. What about you, Camille?
If you have your ice made with all these flavors, does the nose change as you go, as it dilutes? Do you get more aromas?
For me is that I can still taste the base ingredients, which is the green tea whiskey, and slowly the other flavors will release through the melting.
Nice, yeah.
So we don't have a cocktail with the pineapple, bananas, and crazy ingredients. It's just perfect whiskey-based cocktail.
Wow.
And you don't need even any bartending tools for this.
I'm going to take this outside and sit in the garden later and have a few more. It's a beautiful sunshine cocktail this to take in. And thanks, Camille, for keeping that so simple but delicious still. So simple. Now I think, Liam, I think it's over to you. You're going to make one for us as well.
I am. I've just realised I've left a piece of equipment in another room. So enjoy your drinks. Back in 30 seconds.
While Liam's shooting off, Richard, why don't you just tell us about the deal that we've got on green tea this week? Because we're doing something interesting, not our normal method of giveaways this week. So it's a little bit interesting. Tell us what we're doing about that, Richard.
Yeah, so this week was Green Tea themed week, and it's a Green Tea themed show. So we're doing a promotion on our bottles of green tea. If you buy a bottle of green tea for £59, we will throw in a free Mackmyra glass. If you excuse me 1 sec. So it won't come with the whiskey inside, but it will have the whiskey on the side, and you can pour it in, to your own delight and measure. So for £59, you get a bottle of green tea, a free Mackmyra glass, but we will also donate £8 to the Mary Higgins Cancer Trust, which is obviously a very important sort of organisation. And I think there's a lot of people thinking at the moment about what they can do and about what we can do as individuals to help others and things, more so than we might have been for some time. So £59, bottle of green tea, it's delicious whiskey, free nosing glass with it, and a donation to a very good charity as well.
This charity is a Scottish charity that basically looks after people who've got cancer and their families remotely who are isolated, and it's part of our plan to work with the Tomatin Festival, and it's our mechanism of handing something back to the people. That's a chosen charity that we're working with for that festival. So it is a good chance to give something back, and we're happy to and delighted to be involved in that. So thanks for that, Richard. And it's all related to green tea, so it gets back. And Liam is hot back with us. Yeah. You've got your piece of special equipment, Liam, there?
I was only gone for about 5 seconds, I promise.
We managed to cover, don't worry.
Okay, Gareth talked about his hat.
Or getting the other camera on?
Go for both. Go for broke.
Let's try
There we go.
Let's try.
Look at that.
Yeah. All right.
Look at that.
So bear in mind, I'm just very much a home bartender these days. I haven't got a bar at home like so I'm making this my dining table. So I'm going to mix and shake everything in a cup, basically. You don't need cocktail equipment at home necessarily. You can use a jam jar or you can use a lid and shake it. I've got the ice prepared. And I'm going to pour a really healthy measure of the whiskey. A really healthy measure.
The healthier, the better.
And what I'm going to make is basically a matcha apple sour. So matcha the green tea that I had at home, and I've made that into a syrup. And this is basically a strong brew of matcha tea. It looks like it's in a fancy bottle that I bought, but I promise I have made it. So it's a strong brew of matcha tea, which I've blended in some white castor sugar. You could make this in advance at home. It's really, really simple to do. Normally 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, but 1 part the tea brew in this case. And I'm just going to mix in about 15 millilitres of this. Juice of half a lemon.
How much, Liam?
This is a sour.
How much lemon did you put, Liam?
The juice of half. It's about 25 millilitres.
Okay.
And as this is a sour, and I want that kind of velveteen, creamy texture, I'm going to use an egg white. About half a whole egg white, actually. If you're a vegan, you can use aquafaba, which is the water from chickpeas. That works just as well, and it'll give the drink this really kind of creamy, effervescent texture. And I'm also going to use some apple juice, about 50 mils of apple juice. Then I'm going to put the lid on and give this a simple shake. Because this is just for me, I'm going to serve it in this jam jar. I'll just put in a straw. I'll garnish with a zest of lemon over the top. You could use a lemon wheel or anything like that. Obviously, this is a pretty mighty serve that I've made myself.
Wow.
You deserve it. You deserve it, Liam. It's been a hard week.
But if you want to, you could strain that out into a martini glass or a rocks glass or something like that.
I love the jam jar glasses. I love cocktails and jam jars. I think it's awesome.
Still tastes the whiskey. It's just accentuated by this matcha syrup a little bit. Obviously, the apple characteristics of the whiskey as well, just being amplified by that touch of apple juice. Yeah. Should be good for the barbecue outside, which I think we're all looking forward to getting to, right?
Yeah.
I think our producer, who's running all the pictures and moving our screens around, Matt, was mid-barbecue earlier this afternoon. I think he's looking forward to returning to it. So maybe he'll make one for himself.
That's the first. It's the first time I've ever made anything with
any bitters.
Sorry, Camille, go again.
Liam, did you use any bitters?
I didn't use any bitters because I wanted to keep it simple, but yeah, you're right to point out that you'd normally put Angostura bitters or some other flavoured bitters into it.
Can you just double check? So you used matcha syrup that you made from the tea and sugar. You made syrup.
Yeah, exactly.
The large measure of green tea whiskey, egg white, and citrus juice, right?
And lemon juice, yeah.
Yeah, 25. Okay.
And the
I
apple.
was following you. You know, I wanted to taste it. What was in your mind too?
Did you get some apple juice in there as well?
I put slices of apple because I don't have apple juice.
Also, it looks quite healthy.
Yeah, it looks.
Oh,
yeah.
This is the best sour I ever tasted.
Wow. Thank you.
Incredible.
You made it. I can't take any credit.
You gave me the recipe.
I hope
it's really amazing.
It's delicious.
I hope to try it. My green tea didn't turn up in time. Some of the ingredients I had lined up didn't. So I'll keep enjoying my first cocktail.
Sure.
But I'll come back to it.
I've used matcha, but you could use any green tea at home. You just make a strong brew of that tea and then blend in some caster sugar and make it into a syrup.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, I'll do that tonight. I'll do something and post it to social media and catch up with you. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Richard. Guys, they're two fantastic, quick, simple, easy cocktails to make and absolutely delicious. And if we can sit in the sun for the rest of the evening and enjoy these, I think it's a job well done. So we're back coming to the end of our slot. So, massive thanks to you, Liam. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We've both benefited, myself, Richard, of course, and Camille as an expert. But I mean, we've recently been on the WSET courses. If any of the viewers would want to engage with this process, do they contact you, or how do they go about it?
They can contact me. You can find me on Instagram at Liam Scandra. You can find me on Twitter at DistLiam. You can send me an email. It's lscandra@wsetglobal.com. Easy enough just to go to the website that's scrolling across the bottom there. You can see all the qualifications, wine, spirits, sake, both classroom stuff and online. All the courses are online now, and obviously we're all restricted in terms of our travel, so you can study via our online classroom or via video conference link like this. So there's lots of options. And most of your viewers will probably want to be starting at level 1, so they can kind of build the foundations there, as I know a couple of your colleagues have recently, and then maybe move on to level 2, which is the systematic approach to tasting that we used in this video.
Yeah, and we're going to shoot for level 3 this year, Richard and I, aren't we, Richard? That's our promise, isn't it?
Ready for serious study, guys. It's,
yeah, no. It's a lot, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it because it's not just an education in whiskey; it's an education in all spirits.
Yeah.
And the whole process and the detail, and it's a framework to hang everything on that I've been picking up all my life, really. But suddenly, I've got somewhere where I can actually categorize everything and put it together. So, many thanks to WSET, the great work that you do. I hope a few guys sign up for that tonight. Thanks to my colleagues for joining me tonight. We've got Richard, who's down below here, and we've got Camille, our normal Friday cocktail expert in the corner. In the background, we've got Matt on the technicals. Thanks very much. Shane, who's been on the chat line, chatting to people on there. We've had quite a few comments coming back. We always have a bit of fun on Friday. That's what it's all about. It's a quick half an hour, whiskey of the week, couple of cocktails. So what have we got coming up next? Well, next week, our whiskey of the week is a return to our old and oldest favourite, one from the original distillery, the Brooks whiskey, or is it the breakfast whiskey? So join us for next Thursday's show at 7 o'clock, and we'll do an in-depth on that. And on Friday, we might be having a little discussion about why this is called the breakfast whiskey, and maybe a couple of breakfast cocktails, if I'm not mistaken. Camille, is that right?
Yeah, we'll try some smoothies or something.
Oh, smoothies for breakfast. I'm looking forward to it. So, guys,
what people have for breakfast these days normally.
Okay. Once again, thanks to you all. Sign off each individually.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks everyone out there, and stay safe. Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.